Hey, what's going on, YouTube? R to the double E dash to the ZON coming at you once again. And I'm coming at you with the video that I said I was going to make in my last video. Kind of previewed it all for you guys. It's a video based on Dotemu, the developer behind Streets of Rage 4, about a year to a year and a half ago. Just recently, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which is just gold, platinum. And also Windjammers too. They seem to have been, like I said in the last video, the kings of just taking old, dormant, sometimes forgotten franchises from a lot of our childhoods, especially like if you're anywhere in my age range, if you're in your early to, in your 30s basically to 40s, you came up, even 50s, man, you came up with, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, back in the Genesis days, you came up playing the Streets of Rage games and, things like that. So I figured it'd be a really fun discussion to just go through a list of potential properties and franchises I have listed here that I think would be just perfect for Dotemu to pick up next and give the same Streets of Rage 4, Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, even Windjammers 2, that treatment. Bring them back out of the 80s and 90s, bring them into 2022, keep and maintain that retro vibe and look and art style, but tweak it, clean it up a little bit for today's, resolutions and today's displays, but keep that same graphical style, keep that same vibe, that same feel of the universe, and tweak it up with a little bit of more modern gameplay. They did that perfectly in Shredder's Revenge. And you guys saw me when I did my reaction to TMNT Shredder's Revenge. I said basically in a nutshell, it was the perfect marriage of the 1989 arcade game and the Turtles in Time arcade game. And they just married those two together and then spiced it up with a little bit of modern gameplay. So it wasn't just your typical, 4-hit combo. You had your combo, you had your strong attacks, you had your weaker attacks, you had your power moves, your super moves. You had a variety of super moves depending on what you were doing. And you even had double team moves when you played multiplayer. So things like that. I got a list of about... There's a few. There's a few because one of them I listed... I'll just start off with that one. Really any Disney property, man, from back in the day. Think about it, man. We just had, I want to say about 5 or 6 years back, give or take, the DuckTales HD that came out, across PS4, Wii U, all that. That was a fucking beautiful remake. It was the same core game, and it was just hand drawn, reanimated, cleaned up in HD for today's audience, a presentation worthy of today's audience, and not so dated, but still kept that side-scrolling 2D game mechanic, and it was DuckTales. The music, everything, they just redid it, and just add a little bit of flair to it. They could do that now with Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers. I don't know how many of you guys are, in my age range, remember playing on the NES, Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers 1 and 2. I have them now on my computer through emulator, and I think I have the original Chip 'n Dale's Part 1 cartridge for the NES. But I remember coming home from school, getting off the bus at my great aunt's house, who was a wonderful woman who basically raised me. And, because my mom was at work all the time, she would, drop me off there and then pick me up after she got out. I would get there. She would fry me up some hot dogs, and I would watch, that block of Disney cartoons that came on around 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 to 4, 3 to 5. It was, Tailspin, DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers, all that, man. And then I would pop in the NES cart and play it. And it was such a great 2D platformer where you can go between the two chipmunks, like you're switching on and off. And it was just awesome, man. So I could see Dotemu taking, one of these Disney franchises like Tailspin or Chip 'n Dale's or what was the other one, man? Bro, those are two main ones that come to my mind. There's Tailspin and Chip 'n Dale's. But take that and bring it into today's, gaming landscape with a fresh new take. Same old school vibe, same retro art style, just like I said, cleaned up and made for a modern audience. And you can have online multiplayer with that. One of you play as Chip, one of you play as Dale. You can throw the whole crew in there: Gadget and Monterey Jack and Zipper. All the characters. Yeah, I remember all their names. This is my shit, man. This is my childhood, man. So we put them. You can have right there 5, 6 player multiplayer online, going through the world and going through that world. Like if you went back in the NES game, you were shrunken down because you're mice. You're chipmunks and mice and flies. Everything is huge. So you could do so much fun stuff with that artistically, and with that hand drawn hand drawn sprite basically, but in modern day technology, so clean, just like the DuckTales HD remake. Like I said, just clean line work. I mean, it looks beautiful. So you could do that with this, and it would just be phenomenal. Same thing with Tailspin, man. You got Baloo, you got Kip, you got Rebecca. You got Shere Khan as the boss at the end. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they could do so much with it, man. Disney has a bunch of properties and a bunch of movies and shows. That's been a long time that we've seen anything from, man. I mean, I could see them taking the Jungle Book, and especially after the live action remake that came out a few years ago, which is just fucking, the animation in that is just fucking impeccable. But making, the cartoon version of it, like the cartoon movie that we had back in the, I forget when it came out. I think it was the 80s or something, but it was a beautiful, animated movie. It was my favorite Disney movie, as a matter of fact. Pretty much of all time. I love the Jungle Book. But, take that and that art style and make a whole brand new game out of it, man. I mean, you could have Baloo, Mowgli, Bagheera, you got enemies like Kaa, Shere Khan, obviously, the vultures, all that. It could be so good, man. So Dotemu is the developer I would trust with something like that. So now we're going to move on to another Disney property, but this is the best cartoon Disney's ever made. I mean, I'm sorry, it is. And it's rumored to have a new, I think it's live action movie in the works. So it would be awesome if Dotemu could pick this property up, make this game same style as TMNT Shredder's Revenge, same treatment, and bring that out in time to hype up the release of the movie if it does get confirmed that the movie's happening. And that's none other than Gargoyles, man. Gargoyles is the best cartoon Disney's ever made. Gargoyles was like their answer to Ninja Turtles. Of course, nothing is as good as Ninja Turtles, but Gargoyles was right there with them, man. Gargoyles was awesome, man. From Goliath, Brooklyn, Lexington, Hudson, Broadway, Bronx, the dog, Elisa Maza, the human friend and eventual love interest of Goliath. You had the enemies like Demona, Xanatos, all these awesome characters, man. You could have... Gargoyles hasn't had a game since the Genesis. I don't think that even came out on Super Nintendo. I think it was exclusive to Genesis, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong there, but I have it on Genesis, and I've never seen a Super Nintendo Gargoyles cart. So, bro, imagine bringing that back. You could play as any one of the Gargoyles, multiplayer even, and since it hasn't had a game since the original, and I mean, I'm sure there's a whole new audience for it now that it's on Disney Plus. Ever since Disney Plus launched, I mean, that was the first thing I did when I got Disney Plus. I saw Gargoyles. I went through all the seasons because I love that lore and I love that cartoon and I love those characters. Goliath is just a fucking badass, bro. Like that voice and everything. I forgot the voice actor's name, man. I have a picture of him in my head right now and I forget his name. But yeah, man, you could bring that back. It's been so long. You could just really just do the first game over. You know what I'm saying? Or if you want to, like, man, they could do a double. They could do two of them. They could do the whole first game over again, remade, telling their origin story, from Babylon and back in the BC and all that, and what the betrayal that happened at Castle Wyvern and how they got turned to stone, and then now brought into the modern day. They're in New York City, where the castle's above the clouds, and Xanatos is a fucking tower. He brings them back to life. They think he's a friend. It's for selfish gains. It's for exploitation. They meet Elisa, one human that they can trust. I mean, it's awesome, bro. You could just do all that all over again. And it could be Streets of Rage formula, bro. TMNT Shredder's Revenge formula. Side-scrolling, old school, pixel art, 2D, beat 'em up. And you have the ability to play as any of those characters. With the factor of their wings and being able to glide and all that, you can have so much more diverse moveset than even TMNT Shredder's Revenge or Streets of Rage. It could be awesome, dude. And then you could do a follow-up, a sequel, pushing the story forward and actually making a Gargoyles 2, and adding to the story things that we never knew. Actually moving it forward. Dotemu's perfect for that. They're absolutely perfect for that. And that's not the number one property that I'm hyped about talking about them potentially getting their hands on, but it's number two. Gargoyles. Gargoyles is just phenomenal. And it will work so well. Moving on from there, bro. Beetlejuice, man. Beetlejuice. When was the last time we saw a fucking Beetlejuice game? When was that? Weren't they supposed to be working on a new live action Beetlejuice movie also? What's the actor? Is it Michael Keaton? I don't remember. Wasn't he supposed to be reprising that role? I mean, I had read that through like the tea leaves and all that, but I don't know if that's true. But Beetlejuice would be an awesome game to bring back. And again, it's already, it originated at least for me as a child, as an animated show, as a hand-drawn cartoon. So it would be perfect to move that into the video game format because Dotemu, that's what they do. Look at Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, look at Streets of Rage, look at Windjammers. It's hand-drawn animation. Like, it's perfect. So you can bring that over, man, and you got Beetlejuice, you got Lisa, you got the whole cast, that whole zany world between the undead and the living and all that. It would just be great. And that could be, doesn't necessarily have to be a beat 'em up, but could be like a side-scrolling 2D platformer, man. And Dotemu would knock it out of the park. The visual style alone, I know, will be on point. So going from that, Transformers, bro. Transformers. Forget the 5,000 fucking Michael Bay movies that they made. I'm not gonna say they weren't good. Like, the first one was good, but we all know that. I'm just going to be honest. We all know that those movies generated the money they did because Megan Fox's half-naked ass was on there. And, in part 1 anyways. Then they replaced her in 3 or part 2 or part 3 or whatever it was with another fucking hot chick. And it's whatever. But the Transformers property, going back to the late 80s, the cartoon, the toys and all that we all used to have, that's something that's begging for a good game. They had a couple of games a couple years back on the Wii U and PS3, PS4. I forgot it was Transformers. It was like I want to say it was a fighting game. I'm not really sure, but all you need is the Transformers, the Autobots, in a beat 'em up, a 2D side scrolling beat 'em up, fighting through the different planets, Cybertron and all that, fight the locales on Earth and all that, to get to Megatron and the Decepticons. That's all you need, and it's gold. And with fucking Optimus Prime and the whole cast, you can have multiplayer online right there, just like you do in Turtles: Shredder's Revenge. And it would work because Transformers is one of those properties from the late 80s, early 90s that just has a fucking huge following to this day, man. To this day, even though you may or may not be a fan of the Michael Bay movies, as soon as you hear that voice, the Optimus Prime's voice, your ears perk up because you know who it is. It's one of those iconic voices. It's like Darth Vader's voice, or like Freddy's voice, or it's something that you like intrinsically. It's iconic, and it's part of of the fabric of your upbringing. That would be perfect. That would be perfect, man. So Transformers is another one, man. And from there, I kind of slipped on it earlier, but Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The last Power Rangers game we had was just about a year or two ago. Battle for the Grid. It's an okay fighting game. It's not bad, and it's on Game Pass, by the way. Definitely worth a check out if you're a Power Rangers fan. But it's a fighting game. It's kind of like a modern day version of the Sega Genesis version of Power Rangers. Like, if you go back to the 16-bit wars, SNES and Genesis, I had both. I had the Power Rangers game on the Genesis. I could not find the Power Rangers game. My mother couldn't find the Power Rangers game at that time for Super Nintendo because they were so hot at that time, the Rangers, and that game was sold out everywhere. The reason being is because that game was better. That game was a side-scrolling beat-em-up with the 5 Rangers and, went to different levels and all that, fighting the Putty Patrol and trying to get to Rita Repulsa and all that. The Genesis game was a fighting game where you could pick the Red Ranger, Blue Ranger, and just fight each other. It was a Street Fighter clone. It wasn't bad, but it was not as good. That's what Battle for the Grid is. So it's like, eh. And then they had some cheesy crossover there with Street Fighter that didn't even actually have Ryu and Chun-Li in this game. They had Ryu and Chun-Li themed Rangers. It's like, the fuck out of here. It would be awesome. Bring back the Power Rangers with Dotemu's magic, that hand-drawn art, hand-drawn animations, side-scrolling beat 'em up. And you can make this like the grandest Power Rangers game ever. Meaning it's not just Rita Repulsa you're trying to get to. It's Rita Repulsa. It's Lord Zed. It's Ivan Ooze. It's all the main baddies from the entire fucking universe of Power Rangers from the inception of the show to, the movies. So you have a whole like conglomerate there of evil villains. And maybe they're working together to destroy the world or whatever. And then the Power Rangers are the last hope. And we keep this shit traditional, dog. We don't have no Samurai Rangers or no Mighty Space Force X Rangers or whatever the hell all that shit was. The Power Rangers, dude. The Power Rangers. Blue, yellow, pink, red, black, green, white. That's it. Those. And right there, online multiplayer madness. And if you want, you include a little bonus play mode in it that becomes kind of like Battle for the Grid or the Genesis Power Ranger, where you can fight against each other in a 1-on-1 mode or a 2-on-2 mode or whatever. That's cool. But the actual main game, 2D side scrolling beat 'em up. You have levels and sections where you're fighting with the Zords, where you're fighting on foot. You have levels where you're fighting as the humans, and then just regular everyday kid. And then when it's time to morph, you got to morph. Bro, it could be so awesome. And Dotemu could do that. Dotemu could most definitely do that. Then we got one that I personally wasn't a huge fan of, but I'd be lying to tell you that it wasn't everywhere when I was a kid. I don't know much about it, so I'm not really going to speak much on it, but I am going to mention it because for so many people, it would be great, bro. G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe. Why? Dotemu could pick that up. And again, I'm not very familiar with it. I just remember how huge it was when I was young and how many of my friends did have G.I. Joes and play. I had the Turtles, man. I was on the Turtles nonstop. And then the Rangers. But yeah, bro, G.I. Joe was huge. To this day, it's still looked at fondly. And you just recently, a couple years back, had a couple G.I. Joe movies. I know one was a piece of trash. And then I think there was a second one was actually decent. I don't know. I didn't watch them. But that's another property from the 80s and 90s they could pick up. Bring back to life, man, with that Dotemu magic. Here's another. Okay, here's an interesting one. Dotemu somehow, I'm not gonna say gets the rights, but gets contracted to make a Godzilla game. Now, hear me good. A Godzilla MonsterVerse game that's basically a Rampage clone. Day one. I pre-ordered that bitch. Bro, to be able to play a Rampage style game where you're going, destroying the cities, and it could be, not just on Earth, but remember Rampage Universal Tour where they went to space and different planets and all that? It could be whatever. But even if it's just on Earth, man, you got Skull Island, you got Hong Kong, you got Africa, you got the States, you got South. There's so many places they can go, and you could play as Godzilla, King Kong, Mothra, Ghidorah, the Mutos, and some other, Rodan, all of them. Bring all the monsters in there. Again, 2D. Side scrolling. If you want to give it a 2.5D perspective, kind of like Rampage Total Destruction on the GameCube, I'm good with that. But that hand drawn art and you make it so that you could play as the classic Godzilla, you could play as the new Godzilla, the current Godzilla. You could even play as that 1998 iguana looking Godzilla if you want. Same thing with Kong, all the different iterations of Kong, and all of them. And you can have online multiplayer. 3 to 4 players, let's say, if you want to make it. If you don't want to be too much like Rampage, make it 4 instead of 3 or 5 or whatever. And you go level to level, destroying the cities. You put a little bonus mode in there, kind of like I mentioned with Power Rangers, where you can actually go against each other. I mean, that would be awesome, bro. And it's Godzilla, and the MonsterVerse is hot right now, bro. Since since the original Godzilla in 2014, then Godzilla King of the Monsters was epic. Then you had Kong Skull Island, which was fantastic, and then you had Godzilla versus Kong, which was just. And now there's a sequel in the works. That's not rumor. That's confirmed. They're currently working on a sequel for Godzilla vs. Kong, where the two of them are gonna have to take. There'll be no more butting heads from the very get go. They're gonna have to team up against this freaking colossal threat. Those were the words, colossal threat to humanity and to the earth. So this would be perfect to make a Godzilla, a MonsterVerse universe game, Rampage style game, like a Rampage clone. That's gold, man. That is gold. Because as much as I love Rampage from back in the day. I love it. Remember, I love Rampage. To this day, I'll pop in my N64, and that's one of the games I constantly go back to. Or when I go to my GameCube, Rampage Total Destruction, for sure, I go back to that. But, Lizzie, Ralph, and George are cool. But they're not Godzilla, Kong, and Ghidorah. They're not. You know what I'm saying? Lizzie's kind of like in a backhand type of way, a Godzilla clone. George is a fucking King Kong clone. Come on, you would actually be playing it, and then you got Godzilla's atomic breath, or you got King Kong's freaking swinging from the buildings and all that, bro. It could be so good. It could be so good. Next after that, bro, Jurassic Park, man. Jurassic Park. And I know right now we got the Jurassic Park Evolution games. I fucking love those games. I love them. I'll be honest, 2 is the better game, but for some reason 2 didn't hook me. I mean, it hooked me, but it didn't hook me as crazy as 1 did. But either way, I still both of them. I played hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. But I know we got those games, but those are simulation park management games, right? And I know, supposedly they've been talking about for years now that there's a Godzilla Godzilla. What am I talking about? There's a Jurassic Park game in the works that's going to be kind of like an action, maybe a little bit of horror survival, kind of like a Dino Crisis, which would this. We've been needing this for so long, bro. Like, if that comes out, I swear you'll see one like manly tear just stream down my face, man. Just tears of joy. But that's still rumored. Like, it hasn't been confirmed 100%. Like, it talks about it. Okay, that could be true. Okay, but I'm talking about, again, keep in mind, this is Dotemu. Animated, hand-drawn. Doesn't have to be side-scrolling in this case, or it could be, but it doesn't have to be. It could be, overhead, kind of like the Jurassic Park on Super Nintendo. Or, like not completely overhead like Zelda, like that game was, but maybe like, kind of like a 3.5, kind of like, 45-degree angle looking down, isometric camera, bro, and with some hand-drawn sprites, and hand-drawn level design, bro, you could have some beautiful art in there. You could have some amazing iterations of the dinosaurs, and you can make it, just, bro, pick a story. Jurassic Park has like fucking 15 side stories you could do. You could make this, like we just saw Jurassic World Dominion. You saw how Dodson had the Barbasol can that Nedry dropped in the first Jurassic Park, and for the entire fucking 20 years of that franchise, we were always like, dude, did anybody go back and get that can? Now you see they did. This could be the story of Biosyn going back to the island to get that can. Right there. There's a million ways you could do this. And again, you can have multiplayer. Let's say you don't want to make this like an overpowered experience for the player because you want them to feel that dread and that danger of cutting around any corner and running into a raptor or something. Then you don't make it 3 or 4 or 5 player multiplayer online, but you do it co-op, 2 player online. That's it. And it could be awesome, dude. And you could take back, games from the past, like Jurassic Park on the Super Nintendo, for example, and see how that game tried to innovate back then with its primitive technology. It tried to do first-person 3D. It was very choppy. It was like a 5 frames per second frame rate, when you were in those 3D environments. But for back then, it was so fucking cool. So you can incorporate, little things like that. It's over the top, like I said, 45-degree angle camera looking down. You're going through the jungles. Then you get to a utility shed. You walk in, and it goes boom, first person to the night vision goggles. But with today's graphics and technology, Dotemu could do this. They could do this, and it also diversify their portfolio tremendously. Because right now they are fucking awesome. But that's their portfolio right now. 2 beat-em-ups and a sports game. An arcade sports game. I'm not looking down on that. That's fucking awesome, dude. If that's all they ever do, it's fine. Because NetherRealm Studios is one of my favorite studios, and all they do is fighting games. Mortal Kombat and Injustice. That's all they do. And they're both phenomenal. But this would diversify their portfolio. This could be like, now this is an action-adventure / shooter with first-person elements in certain stages. That would be ambitious for them, dude. But I think they could do it, man. And with that graphical style, it would be so unique, man. To go into a first-person view when you walk into like a utility shed or the visitor center, and it's first person, but it's still that hand-drawn, animated cartoon style. It'd be awesome, bro. The things that they could do with the dinosaurs and all that, it would be great, man. So that's another one. One more before I get to the main one I wanted to talk about. Echo the Dolphin, man. Echo the Dolphin, and that just pulls at my heartstrings, bro, because Echo the Dolphin and Echo the Dolphin Tides of Time were 2 of my favorite games of all time from the 16-bit era. Ultra hard, like unforgivably hard. But that game was doing something no one else did. Nintendo wasn't doing it. Sony wasn't doing it. Bro, like, Mario, little plucky plumber, cool. Even Sonic, a little radical hedgehog with his attitude and his speed. Cool. Bro, here you were a fucking dolphin. And I don't know about you guys, but when I was a young kid, my dream was to be a marine biologist. I wanted to work with dolphins early on when I was younger because I loved dolphins. I thought they were just amazing creatures. I still think they're amazing. I love dolphins. But later on, I kind of got hooked on sharks. Sharks are just fucking amazing. But I wanted to be a marine biologist. And this game allowed me to be a dolphin. And it was so scientifically accurate because you could, y'all gotta understand something about me. At 38, I'm a fucking nerd. I don't care I don't care. Oh, it's not cool. I don't give a shit. I'm a fucking nerd, dude. I love knowledge. I love, especially about the things I'm passionate about or things that I am interested in, like animals, bro, tigers, sharks. Bro, I know so much about those creatures because I don't miss a chance to watch, a documentary on them or read up on them or see video. I love them, man. So I was the same way with dolphins. And when I realized that you could send out echolocation, basically a sonar blast like dolphins do in real life, those little clicks and whistles and squeaks you hear them doing, that's not just them. I mean, it's them vocalizing with each other, but it's not just that. They're literally sending out sound waves from the round part of their head called the melon, right above their snout. That wave goes out, bounces off whatever's out there, and comes back and literally like sonar basically paints, or like radar paints a picture in their head of what they're looking at, even when they can't see it. So in that game, you literally held the A button. It would send out a wave of sonar that you would use to talk to the other dolphins and other creatures in the game, which is awesome. But if you held it, that wave bounced back and it took you to a map screen and it showed you your surroundings. And I was like, this is so awesome. Bro, can you imagine if Dotemu, with today's technology, today's graphics, hand-drawn Echo the Dolphin side-scrolling game? Like, I would lose my shit. I would lose my shit. I would love for Dotemu to get a hold of Ed Annunziata, who was the creator of Echo the Dolphin, and get the rights from him, or work with him to make this happen. It would be so epic. And it could be the actual Echo the Dolphin 3, because I don't think Echo Defender of Earth's Future on Dreamcast, I'm not going to say on PlayStation 2 because it only came to PlayStation 2 after the Dreamcast died. That is a Dreamcast original. That game, I don't think that was canonically the third game. I think that was just, another game. I could be wrong about that, but this could be the official Echo the Dolphin 3, of the trilogy. Echo the Dolphin 1, Echo the Dolphin Tides of Time, and Echo the Dolphin this one. And it will be epic. You can wrap the story up completely. It's a very convoluted, complex story involving aliens and humans and dolphins learning to work together, and them being the only line of defense against the alien threat. Very out there, but that's a story. And you can actually you could take us to some new levels. You could take us. And can you imagine the levels? Like if you played the Echo games, remember when you got to the actual ship for the Vortex? Their spaceship, like it was had water in it and all that. You were swimming through it, but as good as it looked back then on the 16 bits, can you imagine now the fucking artistry that they can do with the industrial look of the ship and all that, and you swimming through it? Oh my god, bro, that would be awesome. All right, and so now we're gonna talk about the main one, and this is the one that really when I told you guys in the last video that I wanted to do a video on Dotemu and potential franchises they could pick up and give the Streets of Rage 4 treatment to, give the TMNT Shredder's Revenge treatment to. I told you guys that because the night before, this hit me like a ton of bricks. I was outside chilling on the balcony, some me time, watching some YouTube, whatever, having some drinks, chilling. And I was watching reactions to certain movies, reactions to, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Love watching people today, kids today, young people today watch that from the 90s and still be blown away by how good it is. Same thing. I watched reactions to Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, and watch these new school horror fans that love elevated horror and all that basically shit their pants, in the original Nightmare. But yeah, so I'm watching reactions and I start watching reactions to this one movie, bro, from a franchise that I love. And if you could believe it, I still have not seen this movie. And I got to, especially after I started seeing the reaction, started seeing some of the clips and some of the scenes and all. I was like, oh my god, I gotta see this. How have I not? Because when it was coming out, I was just like, I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. I was like, it looks great, but I was like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the cast. I don't know if it was the fact that the original actors were gonna be there, but I didn't think they were gonna be featured that much. And I don't think they really are, but still. So I wasn't really on the hype train. All my friends were. They're like, bro, you haven't seen it yet? I'm like, I just haven't. I was busy watching Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat and all this. But I was watching reactions to this movie and it hit me. And I was just like, this is the next property that Dotemu needs to pick up and needs to make a game. This needs to happen. Ghostbusters. That's money. Put the money on the wood. That's gold right there. Yo, if Dotemu were to pick up Ghostbusters and make a new Ghostbusters game, bro, could make it, man, so many ways, bro. Hey, all right. I don't know if you guys remember, people my age will. I don't know, some of the young subscribers have ever seen this. If not, look up some gameplay of it. It's going to sound funny, but it actually did happen. It was actually a thing, and it was a pretty fucking decent beat 'em up. Back in the day in the arcades, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. Y'all remember that? It was a game based on Michael Jackson. It was based on the movie Moonwalker. That was the name of the movie. And it was basically a beat 'em up where you played as Michael Jackson. It was a top down, but like I said, angled camera. It wasn't straight top down like Zelda. It was kind of like a 45-degree angle, isometric camera. and you would go through these levels. And bro, Michael Jackson was fucking smooth with it, dude. He had the fucking, he would do the and the fucking lightning would come out and hit the enemies. That was his main attack. It was bah bah. It was just like electricity coming out of him. If you ever got surrounded by too many enemies, you'd hit the dance button. Motherfucker would break out in one of his dances. The enemies would start dancing along with him, and then when he would go ow, they would just blow up. Fucking awesome, fucking awesome. And the soundtrack throughout each level were just his songs: Smooth Criminal, Bad, Thriller. Shit was hot. Shit was hot, dude. They had a Sega Genesis version of it that they turned into a side scroller because of the limitations of the hardware, which is also pretty good. I got them both here on emulator on my PC. That type of play style, that type of camera angle. You got the 4 Ghostbusters with the proton packs and the traps going through those levels, busting all the ghosts. They had an arcade game, Ghostbusters, back in the day, which I also have here on emulator. It was cool, but it wasn't as good as what I'm describing. It was more top down, whatever, But graphically, it was very, very primitive. And it came around the same time as Moonwalker and Turtles and all these great arcade games. So I don't know why it was so behind graphically. But bro, you could do Ghostbusters, man, and I was gonna say you could do it and make it like the kind of like the Ghostbusters game on Wii and PlayStation and all that, which was basically gonna be the third script for the third movie, but they made it in video game format. But now Afterlife is the official third movie, so you could make this based on Afterlife. You could make this based on going forward from there, or you could make this as its own spin-off. You can make this based on the 80s cartoon show, which actually might be the way to go with that hand-drawn style. Bro, I would be hyped, man. Ghostbusters, multiplayer online, battling Vigo, battling the Marshmallow Man, battling Gozer, Zool, all that shit. Bro! And like, with the fucking soundtrack, bro, but you gotta nail the soundtrack. You can't just have the theme song, that's certified gold. But you gotta have that 80s soundtrack. Go back and watch the original Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, the movies. And just listen to the music, bro. Like at certain scenes. It's just that 80s goodness, dog. You have that with that top-down 45-degree angle camera perspective. The 4 Ghostbusters cartoon versions, from the 80s, the blonde Egon and all that. Going with the different color jumpsuits and the proton packs. Slimer could be like a sidekick that you get enough points, or you get enough your power meter goes up enough, you can call on Slimer. He can bring like a bunch of Slimers through and just rush the ghost on the screen. Bro, you could do so much with this, man. And with that hand-drawn art style and that Dotemu magic, that to me, out of all the things I've listed and all the things I can think of, I don't know, maybe you guys could think of something I missed or a property I missed that might even be better. I would love to see your suggestions and your comments and your ideas in the comment section below. But to me, that is the property that is head and shoulders above, at the top of the list, man. Ghostbusters, bro. You imagine turning on a game now, 2022, 2023, loads up, you see the Dotemu logo, and then I hear the fucking Ghostbusters song. What? And then you see the options: 1 player, 2 player co-op, online. And you could have it just like you have now with Cowabunga Collection, with the Turtles Cowabunga Collection, which I got, by the way, which I got to do a review on because it's just... But yeah, there's a section in that game at the beginning. Instead of going into the game, you can go to the Turtles lair. And it's a faithfully recreated, animated, hand-drawn version of the Turtles lair from the cartoon show back in the, 89 or 87, whatever it was. And, on the coffee table, you got magazines and advertisements for all the games of that time. You have the original boxes, front and back box art, and instruction manuals. You have all this, concept art and all these amazing things. You can have that. You can have the Firehouse from Ghostbusters and the Ecto-1. That's another thing. The Ecto-1. Bro, this Dotemu, somehow, I'm going to tag the shit out of them in the tags for this video. Somehow, somebody from Dotemu has to hear this. And this is what you got to do. This is the next game. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear no. This is the next game. Ghostbusters. This is what they need to do, man. Anyways, man, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making it and going through the possibilities, man. Like I said, bro, hey, let me know down below. We all have different upbringings and different experiences from childhood into adulthood. So maybe you guys were on something else that I wasn't on that you think is, is just as good or even better and worthy of mention in something like this, something that Dotemu could take on and bring into 2022, 2023, in video game form. Let me know, man. We'll go back and forth. I love discussions like this because it's nostalgic, but it's also meaningful because it's like, bro, not only is this stuff that we loved and stuff that brings us that nostalgia and those memories, but it's like, we have evidence in Turtles Shredder's Revenge and Streets of Rage 4 And now the Turtles Cowabunga collection from Konami. We have evidence that this could be brought successfully into the modern day and kick so much ass. So it's like, I mean, you got the live action Turtles movie. Is it live action or animated? I don't know. I think it's computer animated. Turtles movie coming out next year. Seth Rogen is the one spearheading this, so I don't have much faith because I think that guy is just a fucking. I think he's insane. But it's still the Turtles, so you know I'm gonna watch it. And hopefully it's good. But what I'm saying, like, it could be brought into the modern day and kick ass, man. So that's the video, man. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Let me know, comment down below, what you thought. If there's something I missed, something that I completely didn't mention that would be, good for this type of discussion, man. God bless y'all. Stay game and peace.